My nurse was like in my face and telling me like, it's okay honey, breathe, 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 you're doing so good. Breathe like you're blowing a candle. And I was like, hi everyone. As you might already know from my previous videos, I had my daughter. This is Arlainio. She was born on May 2nd. I'll show you her in a little bit because she's feeding right now. But yeah, she was born on May 2nd. I'm gonna talk to you guys today about my birth and delivery story, and hopefully this can help any of you moms who maybe this is your first pregnancy, your second pregnancy, maybe you're a mom already and this is your second one just like me and you kind of want to see how it is, or maybe this is your first pregnancy and your situation is a lot like mine and you kind of want to see how it went, or if you just know me personally or you're just curious, here's my birth story. A little background: my first pregnancy with my son ARIS, I was starting to become really big and uncomfortable by 37 weeks. And if you saw my birth and delivery story for him, my OB actually told me at my 37-week appointment that I could be going into labor anytime. And he didn't think I was going to see me again the next week. So I went again the next week on my appointment and I told him, "Doctor, I'm still pregnant." So he said, "Okay, no, I'm really sure that you're gonna go into labor sometime this week. I think that you're even gonna go today." So then that week went by, and then I was 39 weeks, just super uncomfortable. And my doctor was like, "Okay, if you're okay with it, I'd like to induce you at 39 weeks and send you to the ER right now." So that's how I got induced at 39 weeks. With this pregnancy, I was actually in early labor for about 3 weeks already. I would start laboring in the afternoon, maybe like 4, 5, 6, and I would be contracting just regularly, but it never really progressed, and my contractions would actually stop at around like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and it was so frustrating because I would be sitting right here timing all of my contractions, and then I'd fall asleep and wake up like at 7 a.m. and they'd be gone, and I was so mad because I couldn't sleep and I thought this was it, only to fall asleep and wake up and the contractions are gone. So that was really frustrating. At 38 weeks, my doctor said, "Okay, if you want, we can schedule an induction for you next Monday." And so this is a week ahead, or a week before my induction. And me and my husband talked about it and we're like, okay, let's do it. We were still kind of reluctant to do it because I was thinking, okay, maybe she's not ready to come out. So we scheduled it all right, to come in next Monday at 5:30. But that whole week I was trying to figure out ways just to go into labor all by myself. I drank raspberry leaf tea, I walked around the block, bounced on my yoga ball, just a whole bunch of things. There were times where I felt like I was gonna go into labor soon, but it just never got to that point where I was like, okay, I think this is it, let's go to the hospital. You know, I was reluctant on going in to the induction because I didn't want to be induced. I just kind of wanted to go naturally. I thought about, you know, calling my doctor and canceling my induction and give it another week until I was actually 40 weeks. But that Friday, I think I looked at the clock and it was like 5:30 or 5:45, and I was like, oh crap, their office is officially closed, so I have to go on with this induction. That weekend I just kind of prepared myself mentally for the induction and still hoped I would go into early labor, but I never did. So come Monday morning, we woke up early. We actually packed all of our stuff the night before and set it all by the door just so we can just zoom out of here. We were still late. We got there at 6. We were supposed to be there at 5:30, but no big deal. I actually made 1 cup of raspberry leaf tea, but I made it with 3 tea bags. So it was really, really strong. I sipped it throughout the drive to the hospital. The hospital's not that far. It's about 5 minutes away. But yeah, we actually get over there and we tell the nurse or the admitting person that we were there for an induction, and then they said, okay, go in that room and sit. And turns out our name wasn't on the list for induction. I knew they weren't gonna send us home because a bunch of, you know, moms to be are going in there as emergencies, and they're not gonna send them away. And we had a scheduled induction. Coincidentally, the room that we were put in is the same exact room that my son ARIS was born. So that was pretty special for us. So I changed into my gown. It took a little while for me to get hooked up to everything, and I was feeling a little bit of contractions. I'm pretty sure it was from my raspberry leaf tea, so I think that really did help a lot for me, and I would recommend you try it. I also drank that tea with my son as well, and my labor was 4.5 to 5 hours, so I was really, really happy with that. I was actually contracting on my own couple minutes before they hooked me up, so my nurse was like, oh, I'm really, really happy about that. I think that this is going to be a really short labor for you. So I was really, really glad about that. I was still nervous with the Pitocin, even though I had had the Pitocin with my son ARIS. But the first time around, I was in so much pain. I think they put me on too high of a dose. I'm only 4'10", so I can only take so much of the Pitocin, and I feel like my contractions were like on top of each other and I didn't have any rest. This time around, I got hooked up at around 9 a.m. and at that time I was about 3.5 centimeters and 60% effaced. And I told my nurse, like, please put me on the lowest dose of the Pitocin. And I told her about, you know, my first labor with my son ARIS. I had progressed super quickly, and I ended up getting the epidural. So I was hoping not to get the epidural. After I got hooked up, the contractions started to get more intense, and about 9:30, so 30 minutes of being on the Pitocin, my OB came in and ruptured my membranes. For you ladies who have given birth before and your water breaks or they rupture your membranes, you know that the contractions really get going from there. They're getting stronger and stronger. What I had told my husband, because he actually wasn't there during the actual laboring with my son ARIS. He was at work. By the time he got to the hospital, I was already, you know, hunched over for the anesthesiologist to give me my my epidural. He didn't really see the crying or the moaning or the yelling. He didn't really see me in that much pain because I was already getting hooked up to the epidural. So this time around, I was going to try to not get the epidural. So beforehand, I told my husband what I needed him to do for me. First thing first was just be by my side, and I needed him to really be the voice in my head. Look at the machine and, you know, just tell me to breathe and relax and not tense up. He was really good with this, and he was telling me, you know, it's okay, just keep breathing. This is the last contraction. It's going on decline right now. The pain's gonna be gone. You can rest after this contraction. Just rooting me on, contraction after contraction. And he was really helping me to take each contraction on its own. Put worship music on. That really helped actually both of us to relax and just kind of think of the end goal, you know, that our daughter was going to be in our arms sooner or later. And also put like a wet cloth on my forehead just to help me relax. I also wanted him to feed me ice chips because, man, when you're laboring, you get so dehydrated. My mouth was, I felt like I had like cotton mouth. So I needed those ice chips just to keep me hydrated and just keep me refreshed. The main thing I think that got me through labor was him being there and talking me through it, and breathing. The breathing is so important. I was having back labor, so I needed him to kind of like, you know, like get in my lower back and just put pressure on there, and that really helped a lot. I was laboring from 9:30 when they hooked me up to about 11:30. 2 hours of some really painful contractions, and they were getting to a point where it was like, okay, let's call the nurse. So I called the nurse in, and I was like, oh, I'm in so much pain. Can you check me and see how far I've progressed? Because I was gonna ask for the epidural, actually, because I wanted to be at least 7 centimeters before I got the epidural. She was like really quiet checking me, and I was like, is everything okay? Like, how far along am I? And she was like, honey, you're at 8. She was like, I wouldn't recommend you get the epidural because I can call the doctor right now and we can start pushing at this, get this baby. So I was like, okay, let's do it, you know. I got actually about 4 or 5 contractions waiting for the doctor, and they were so intense. I was in transition. My nurse was like in my face and telling me like, it's okay, honey, breathe, 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 doing so good. Breathe like you're blowing a candle. And I was like, I've never experienced this before because with my son I had the epidural, so I was like really calm. So this time around I was like, oh my gosh, where's the doctor? Like, please get here. So then the doctor came, and we started pushing. I was pushing like with all my might, but I only pushed for about 20 minutes and she was here. It felt like I was pushing for like an hour and a half. With my first, I actually pushed a whole hour with the epidural. So with my son, it was definitely less painful, but with her, I knew what I was pushing out. I felt everything. So I can't really say which one was easier because they're both very different labors. She came out after 20 minutes, and man, during recovery that day, I can see, you know, like all red like dots on my face and my chest area. And I think it was from like ruptured blood vessels from pushing so hard. I actually needed to get an episiotomy, which I actually requested because I didn't want to tear. And I got an episiotomy with my son, and I asked the doctor to just cut me. I didn't want to tear. She ended up being 8.1 pounds and 20 inches, which is a pretty big baby for me. My son was 7.2, so my doctor's like, good thing we induced you today, because if we had waited just another week when you were 40 weeks, we would definitely need a C-section. So I was so relieved to have her in my arms already because she was a big baby. The doctor and my nurses were so great. They actually left us alone for about 3 hours, just Wes waiting for a room in postpartum, and I was able to nurse her right away. She latched right away. As far as the hospital stay goes, it was, I think, a lot easier than with ARIS. I think with ARIS, we were first-time parents. We were very young. Every little like squeak he made, we were like, oh my gosh, is he okay? Is he okay? And most of it was the anxiety from like just trying to do our best as parents. This time around, you know, she slept really good, we slept really good. It was just great. We got good sleep. As far as recovery, it was a little hard the first 24 hours for me because I was stitched up, and TMI over here, but I was so swollen down there that I could not pee. It was so uncomfortable, and I had to get a catheter in. I was scared for it, but I'm so happy that I got it. Sleep was better than like with ARIS because she actually let us sleep, and I was able to take a shower that night. So I was so happy, and I felt so refreshed. As far as breastfeeding goes, it was great. She latched on really quickly, but like a newborn, you have to teach them and they have to get used to nursing. I got really sore really fast. The lactation consultant came in and she told me, okay, she lost a little bit of weight. I think we should supplement, which I wasn't very happy about, but I kind of took it into my own hands to kind of do what I felt was best for my daughter. So my right breast was super sore and cracked and kind of bleeding. So what I did was I pumped this side, her nursed this side, and I would use a syringe to give her whatever I got from here and feed her here, so she was able to get fed. She was a little bit jaundiced, but my son was too, so I was just told that when my milk came in, just feed her, and just try to have her kind of clean out her body. She was fine. She gained her birth weight back, and I mean everything worked out really well. So I'm gonna show you my daughter now. She is actually about 2.5 months now, so she has gotten bigger. So this is my baby girl. She's like, what's going on? If any of you guys have any questions about my labor and birth, I'd be happy to answer them for you. I really hope that this helps any of you guys who maybe just want to know about the birth and labor process, or your days coming up soon. I really hope this does help you. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.